I'm Sonia Nolan, and around my warm table, we will welcome an eclectic and fabulous range of guests to share their expert knowledge and life experiences. In this first season, we are exploring a wide range of topics, including some of those we were taught not to discuss at the table: politics, religion, and sex. The table is set. Please join us. Today I'm speaking with Alba Gomez, a presence and personal brand coach, keynote speaker and a body language specialist. She is all of this and more. Born in Colombia, Alba is now based in Western Australia but has clients all over the world who she works with to bring out their best. You may have seen Alba on Australian television or on social media. She shares her expertise generously and with such contagious enthusiasm. Today, Alba is sharing her personal brand and image insights with us. Oh, and she's also let us in on a special Colombian hangover cure recipe. The table is set for us to learn how to be more confident, have more influence, and create a great first impression. Thank you very much for joining me, Alba Gomez.
Hello.
It's lovely to see you again, Alba.
So lovely to see you.
We worked out this morning that it's probably been about 10 years that we've known each other. So from the very, very start of your business, which is really exciting for me because I've been watching your growth in social media and in all the things that you've been accomplishing on television. And it's just delightful to be able to sit down now and actually reminisce on the last 10 years with you.
I know, so exciting. I love it. I really feel so humbled and grateful to have you had in my life for the last 10 years.
Oh, thank you, Alba. So tell me where it all began, and then we'll move on from there because so much has happened in 10 years. So where did it all start?
Oh, such a long story, but it all started with an idea I have had for a few years of wanting to run my own business. And in the past, I worked as an engineer in Colombia and in Australia. I had lost my passion for what I was doing back then. And one day I just got myself really out of that, circle in which you just keep complaining about how life is going and not doing anything with it. And I went to a retreat in Bali for women in business. And I was the only woman who was in the corporate world. All the other women were already business owners. And from that retreat in Bali, I got that little big fire in my belly that made me believe for an instant of a second that I could do whatever I wanted to do. So I came back from Bali in a very late flight, went to work the next day and went into my boss's office and resigned. And
that was a big move, wasn't it?
It was huge. I remember calling my husband back then and saying, I did it. And he was like, what? But you were going to wait. What happened? And that was it. Once I had resigned, I thought, okay, now I need to do something. And I started doing the one thing I knew I loved and I had been doing as a hobby for so many years, and was working with image consultancy. And that's pretty much when I first met you.
It was. And so that's a huge difference. So engineering, what kind of engineer were you?
Production engineer.
Production engineer. So going from being a production engineer to being an image consultant.
Yep.
Now, it's interesting. We were talking earlier, Alba, that in Perth here in Australia, we talk a lot about STEM subjects, about really encouraging engineering and encouraging the technical subjects. In Colombia, though, going back to where you were from,
yep,
being an engineer was not an unusual occupation for a woman like you.
Not at all. And actually at university, you will see that 50% of the students are women, 50% are men. It's like super balanced. So it's super normal for you to just go to university. Most of us do. If you can afford it, you do. And then most of my friends are engineers, doctors, dentists, and so it's normal. So when I came to Australia, I did notice that people will get very surprised to see me and to know and learn that I am an engineer. So it was quite a challenge, actually, to find a job as an engineer, not having local experience and not having like a huge demand, I guess, for women in engineering.
Yes, of course. Now, you also mentioned that your parents were quite surprised for your change from engineering to being an image consultant. Tell me about how that went down.
Oh, yeah, that was devastating for them, especially for my dad. Well, I have two sisters, and the three of us are engineers, and obviously we are his biggest pride in life.
Of course.
And I was the second to kind of leave my engineering behind. today we all left engineering.
Is that right?
Yes, we did.
What are your sisters doing?
So they all have their own businesses.
There you
so
go.
Yeah, so it's like funny, but for my mom and my dad was devastating because they couldn't believe all the effort, that I put into, and they put into sending me to university, all the studies, all the late nights, and they thought, image consultancy, what is that? That's just so silly. They tried to be supportive, but I knew they were not. They were just, okay, well, it's your life. You just do whatever you want with it. And it's funny because today they couldn't be any more proud of me.
Of course.
But yeah, we have to go through many ups and downs to get to this point.
I think that's a very typical parent response, though, isn't it?
Yes.
That's right. Engineering is, that's your path, and
Yes.
then to steer it completely away from your path. But were you really completely steering away from
No.
your path? What sort of skills and knowledge, processes
Yep.
from engineering were you able to direct into your new business?
A lot. And actually, I always say this, like I am such a systematic person, and my type of engineer focuses a lot in processes and systems and efficiency and giving the best outcome in the least amount of time and, doing it the best way. So I have a very systematic brain. And the way I think is because of my degree. And plus, I also had the experience to work in the corporate world, both in Colombia and in Australia, which has given me a great insight and understanding of different cultures, because I work for a Japanese company as well, and, companies in America and Latin America. So it's learning so much about the world, having such a logic way of thinking, and also how I do things now, not just compile all my professional experience in the corporate world and my personal life, but I have a systematic approach to developing your personal brand. So it was not for a second any waste of time or money at all.
That's very good. It's very reassuring, but it brings a completely different spin to image consulting.
Absolutely.
So let's forward wind the clock then from when you went into your boss's office and you said, I've finished, I've had enough now, I'm going to do my own thing, pursue my own passions, and you became an image consultant. Tell me what your image consulting business was about.
So back then, because now it's very different as well, so back then, growing up, I always had this passion and love for colors and makeup and style. And the reason I had that passion is because I was the ugly duckling. I was bullied at school and I looked really terrible, and I felt really terrible. I felt ugly and inappropriate. So I guess I became passionate about something that could give me some level of confidence.
I know what makes you so beautiful, not just on the outside, but on the inside, is that you're so willing to share your story. And I've seen the photographs of you as a child on social media. You're willing to share those, when we all go through those awkward teen years and finding ourselves. And also I grew up in the 70s and 80s. So look, taffeta and big hair have a lot to answer for in my stories and my photographs of the past. But you're just an average child in the fashion, in the moment, being just very being you, but also being very normal.
Yep.
And then to come out and actually having found that person who you are now,
Yeah.
which is truly beautiful inside and out. Those humble beginnings were so integral to who you are today.
Absolutely, and thank you so much for those beautiful words. It's really beautiful, but it's so true. And the reason why I share it is because I want to share that with other women or young adults and even with the people who know me now, that you might see a woman who knows how to do her hair and her makeup and dresses, decently, and knows how to make the most out of how she looks and who she is. But I started in like -1,000, like I was in such a low level of self-love, self-confidence, self-image. And we were speaking about this before, the journey of who I was and who I am now, even though it's been the most painful and challenging, it has been beautiful because it has allowed me to grow. So if in any way I can inspire or help others to know that wherever you are, doesn't really matter because life is happening for you. You can just transform yourself from the inside out and create something so completely different. So actually that was the inspiration for me to start doing image consultancy and then to take it just into personal branding as I do today, because it's all about the transformation that happens when you learn that those experiences, even difficult, are just teaching you something invaluable. And now having the opportunity to share this with the people in social media that follow me, my clients, is to me priceless, and is the reason why I do what I do.
That's wonderful. Did you want to share a little bit about
Yes.
the last 10
Yes.
years in Australia? Last 14 years, hasn't it
Yes,
been?
it has been
That's
14.
right.
So I then started my business as an image consultant, because, as I said, that's something I just learned intuitively, and I had a flair from it, and I got educated on it. So when I thought, what should I work with? I thought image, helping women look and feel fantastic, as I did for myself. And so I worked as an image consultant for probably 2 years, and it wasn't too long after I realized there was a disconnect, as I felt it in my life. As a teenager, or probably, I don't know, let's say even older than that, probably 17 or 16 when I started university, I knew how to look really good, but I felt really bad inside. I still didn't like myself at all, or appreciated me, or just thought I could do anything with my life. So I started a very early journey into my personal development path of really learning to know me, to appreciate me, to really see the woman I was. And from that place, everything started changing in a very slow process that I now can just help others and fast track that. So I realized image consultants is not going to cut it for me, only because I have done such a big development of my mindset and my self-image. So I started including that into my work. Then I also have been fascinated by body language in communications. And I guess it's being a Gemini and being Colombian, I always love to communicate, and I always love to just MC events and talk to people. And it's another area that I always loved playing with. So then I went into do further studies in body language and first impressions, training corporate people as well. And as I was working with people, I started finding parts of me that I love learning about and teaching others. And eventually I landed to where I am now, and is working with personal branding and presence, because there is so much more than changing what you're wearing for you to feel great, for you to achieve the things you desire, for you to live a fulfilled life. And it all starts with your mindset and how you see yourself, and it goes all the way through developing your presence, your body language, your communication skills, and how you show up every day, obviously looking the part and making the most out of who you are and how you look if you're a woman with your makeup, or how the way you dress, but communicating that openly so you can share with the world who you are and what you have to offer. And that's the process I went through, and I've been doing it one-on-one, in workshops, doing presentation, running keynote speaking, and it's something that completely aligns with who I am, completely make me have a bigger sense of contribution with the world. And it also gives me like that insight of why did I go through all the challenges I went, because now everything makes sense. All the learnings I had make me me today, and what I have to offer feels just, it was meant to happen this way.
We can all walk into a wardrobe full of clothes and still have nothing to wear, and it actually has nothing to do about the fact we have a wardrobe full of clothes
Very
and
little,
nothing to
yes.
wear. It's all about how we feel on the inside.
Absolutely.
But also, I wake up some days and I think, ooh, I feel red.
Yes.
Or, ooh, I feel blue. And so you immediately gravitate to those colours in your wardrobe, which will actually match the feeling that you're having for that day. Tell me a bit about that sort of philosophy and that sort of understanding of how colours can make you feel different.
Well, there's such a big science behind colors and how they make you feel and how others perceive you. So there's a science that actually explains what works best for you. And there's a different science that explains the message clothes send. But I have exactly the same feeling as you. And for example, for me, I understand now the colors that complement my complexion, my eye color, my skin, my hair. But I wake up feeling flat, I will straight away go for something very colorful.
Interesting.
Yeah, and it's kind of like, and then there's some basics. I'm not going to go into the very deep thing, but understanding that blue is a color that is very people's friendly and it allows you to connect, that when you wear red, if you are a woman, you might not connect as easily with other women. Wearing really light pastel colors can make you go under the radar because your brain won't pick up any contrast. So you will look very elegant and sophisticated, but because you are not wearing high contrast, if you are like, say, pale and blonde, then you might go under the radar. That putting together two colors that are very contrasting with each other, you can be seen as creative, which is fantastic, but it might take away credibility from you. So it's very fascinating when you get to understand that color can not only make you look beautiful, professional, younger, which is
always handy.
Always handy, but that it can also affect the perceptions that other people have about you, because your brain is always taking information in a visual way, and the level of contrast we wear closer to our face is sending a silent message that ends up being taken for over more than 50% of the communication that we make.
That's interesting. So is that still part of body language? Is
Yes,
that what you would...
It is on the non, yeah. So it's body language and image that will be doing a lot of the talking. And if we add to that the tone, the speed, and your accent, your voice, how it sounds, it's over 93%.
That's incredible.
It is.
Before you even
get
to your message. That's right.
Yes,
yeah.
And obviously that's why you need to understand that if your image, your body language, and your voice are not in alignment with the words you use, your message can get lost.
So how have you been helping people in Perth or around Australia?
Yes, around the world, actually.
Around the world. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
I've pigeonholed you just in the city. Around the world. So tell me about that. How are you helping people with all of that?
So I developed a 7-pillar system to develop your personal brand. And as I mentioned briefly before, it's just obviously been an engineer with my systematic brain. I'm all about systems, and I just got to realize that when you take somebody into a process with some structure and then there's some implementation straight away from it, people get to implement new techniques. Otherwise, it ends up being just new knowledge that we don't get to live. So a 7-pillar system that take an individual from their mindset through to the understanding their values again, remembering who they are and their essence, going into their magnetic personality, how you can become your most charismatic self. Then you work into your body language. So I help people to understand how to align their message with the body language they use, and also help understand not so much more to read other people's body language, but to understand who you're talking to. So what is the best way you can communicate to connect with them? And then from there, also learning and teaching how to use style and color to create that presence that is in alignment with the individual, or either in the corporate world or in your own business, that is going to connect with those potential clients. So how you present and look the part. And then we close the loop just really going into, okay, how do you influence others? Not manipulate, and I want to make this clear here, because I am all about authenticity and staying genuine and true to who you are. But we need to influence others, and that's what we do when we talk. When we communicate with others, we want them to take into consideration our comments. So influencing is the art of mastering who you are and what you have to say, and communicate it in a way that the other person receives it. So once you have worked through all those elements, then it's all about understanding how you position your brand. What are your brand values? What do you stand for? And how are you going to come consistently in all the ways we have now to communicate online and in person, so people get an understanding about who you are and what is it that you have to offer.
That's exceptional. And having gone through that whole process, Alba, what has been some of the responses you've had from people?
Well, it is, and it makes me smile straight away, because I one of the things that inspired me to go from image consultancy to something bigger for me was the desire in my heart to transform people's lives. Just because of my life experience, I wanted just to have such a big impact as the impact I have had in my own life through the coaches and mentors I have worked with. So it's amazing, because I have people who just really went from feeling like they even call themselves, a couple of my clients call themselves like the mushroom who wanted to be behind the curtains or in the corner, to being able to walk into any room, boardroom, or event, standing tall, feeling confident, and owning who they are. So then, as a result of that, transformation in their relationships with their husbands and kids, starting business, succeeding in business, changing careers, getting to the CEO level they wanted to get, or the manager position they wanted to get. People being able to believe in their dreams and getting the house they dream of, losing the weight, changing countries where they were living. So it's actually a process that not only creates such a great success professionally speaking, because it allows you to stand in your power, really. And when you stand in your power, everything is possible. But also that realization that understanding who you are at a different level allows you to live a more fulfilled life. So that is, to me, amazing. Just having my clients saying all the time, you just changed my life. You just changed my life, which I didn't. I just guide them through the process of achieving everything they desire.
Alba, we're obviously living through interesting times. With COVID, that connection is becoming, sort of different. I'm not going to say difficult, but it's different to the way it used to be. Now we're all being asked to connect via video conference, or connect in a socially or physically distant type of way. How do we get around that, and how do you show up best on a video conference, using all of the knowledge you've got and the expertise? What would you recommend for people?
Absolutely. So I would say show up and step it up. What I've noticed is people have been getting really relaxed with the fact that they are on a camera, not only image-wise, but energy-wise. So people can just be more relaxing what they're wearing, sitting a little bit slouching, not taking care of their surroundings, looking tidy and organized. And it's so important because the screen is stealing kind of 50% of your energy. Yes. Everything. So if you're just stepping it down and then the screen is taking the rest of it, your presence at the end is becoming really, really weak. So I will highly recommend you watch out your background. You have good lighting that makes you look healthy, intelligent, capable. Step it out with your makeup if you're a woman. Step it out with whatever you're wearing around your face. Your hair is tidy. Bright colors. Stop wearing just white and under the camera can look really bad unless it's done with good lighting and good background. Make sure you are sitting up or standing up. I love having those desks that are standing desks. Yes. So you can just stand up a little bit, move around, dance or jump throughout the day so you can keep your energy up, and watch your body language. Because as I said, makeup, body language, and emotions will be just 50%, will come across 50% weaker on camera. So you need to step up your energy, how you speak slower, make eye contact, look at the screen, stop being distracted looking at the phone. So really just make sure you're standing in a powerful pose. You bring extra energy to how you use your intonation, your volume, and make sure image-wise you are looking the part still, as if you're in a meeting. You can be wearing thongs if that's your thing, or slippers under the table, but make sure your torso and your face, everything is groomed. And remember, how you look affects how you feel, and how you feel affects how you show up.
Yeah, very, very true. They're very good ideas. I was talking to someone recently and they said, I was in a video conference with somebody and they had their little washing line with all their underpants and socks next to them. And he said, we're in a meeting. Like, I would not expect somebody to bring their washing into a meeting room.
Yes,
so
exactly.
You are in a meeting room. So there's some very simple things we can do to not be quite as relaxed as you've said.
Yeah,
yes.
And it's not about having to just be like overdoing it, but be tidy and organized and pretend you're in an office.
And I guess we can all tolerate a level of distraction because that's human. But then there's also that side where we do need to show up and to make a point. We do need to, I like what you've said, that the screen will take away 50% of the energy. So we need to really bring it and step it up.
Yes, and there's meetings. Meetings we will allow distractions. But if you're on an interview, I've had a lot of friends doing virtual interviews at the moment. Or if you're trying to sell your services, you don't want a dog or a kid interrupting that meeting, a specific meeting. The other ones, we can be more flexible.
Yeah, that's right. So it's know your audience
exactly.
As well. Going back into the office, so there's a lot of countries and Australia going back into the office now after the COVID wave. What sort of tips would you have for people who are now about to reconnect back after some period of time remotely?
Yeah, and that's an interesting for us because we haven't been affected by it. But I have been talking to a lot of friends in America and in Colombia, and everybody's like, "Oh, going back to the office and communicating with people again and getting dressed again. I need to go and get a new wardrobe." So first of all, you need to go and check you have clothes that make you look incredible, powerful, strong, men or women, like things that are still your colors, that enhance your natural skin tone, that fit well for the season you're in, that you have your power wardrobe that make you feel really good and that looks good on you, that is appropriate. So that's the first thing, because some of us have put on weight or lost weight, or you need to make sure you have that side. Second of all is stepping up your energy to understand that it's a different level of energy and it's going to be a change. Our brain doesn't like change. So from a mindset perspective, be prepared to feel different. You might either feel more energized if you're an extrovert, but if you're an introvert, you're going to feel drained because obviously you're going to have to be more out there. So being aware of what it's going to take if you're an extrovert or an introvert, and the amount of hours that you're going to have to be now under air conditioning, whereas probably at your house you have more flexibility. So from that perspective, think of that. But mindset-wise, I guess, is understanding that you are going through changes. And the brain is going to try to sabotage the change because the brain doesn't like at all. The brain doesn't like the change. So take small steps into things like start connecting with your colleagues a bit. Watch, for example, the social events you're going to be attending. Stop checking in. As I said before, stop saying yes to everything to please people, because we were in such a comfortable position where we were hiding. Now you're going to have to start filtering and remembering what is important to you, where do you get your energy from, look at the things you say yes to, and now it will be a great opportunity to become visible again. If you were not making yourself visible with your opinions at meetings because they were online, now you don't have an excuse. Now is the time to regain your confidence, to show up, to own your voice, to watch how your body language complements what you say and how you show up in meetings. And you remember that you need to make yourself visible, because if you don't, you're going to go unseen by opportunities. So it's kind of coming out of that little bubble of hiding and doing little things every day to stepping outside of that shell.
That's really good advice, Alba, and especially that idea about watching your energy and what you commit to. Something you just mentioned, Alba, which was about being a human being. I have a very beautiful friend who talks about the fact that we are human beings, not human doings.
Yes.
And so it's interesting you say that, to start the day actually being a human being.
Yes.
That's a really beautiful way to start the day and get focused on what we really need to be doing.
Absolutely. And there is actually a formula for life success that it says be times do equals have. And like on a mathematical formula, if you are not being zero, but you're just taking action, 1, 0 times 1 equals 0. So you don't have results.
So true.
Same the other way around. If you're just being all the time 1, but you're not taking action 0, results at 0. It is only when you align your being, your thoughts, your mind with your actions that 1 times 1 equals the results you get in life.
I said that's definitely the engineer in you
Yes.
coming out with a mathematical formula for that. But it makes so much sense, doesn't
Yes.
it?
Well, it's actually not mine, but I loved it when I saw it because I thought it makes so much sense. So that's one thing I have learned in my own life. I have a very masculine brain, meaning I'm a doer. But I have learned this concept and it has revolutionized my life. And just understanding that when I do align my thoughts and I start my days on being and checking on with my heart, with my soul, with whatever you believe in, God, universe, force. And then from that place, you go and take actions. The results you get are just magnificent.
Alba, thank you so much for joining me again today. It's just such a delight to have you as my guest on my warm table. Can you, I want to take you straight to your happiest memory.
My happiest memory really is from last year when I finally, in the middle of COVID and being locked in Australia, I was able to get an exemption and travel to Colombia and America to see my parents. And just seeing their faces and getting to hug them. There's no words to describe the joy, the happiness, and and realizing how much we take for granted.
It's so true.
So many things.
So many things. And I guess especially for you, Colombia. So tell me more about your hometown and your land of Colombia, the sights, the smells, the sounds, the food. It's so different to Australia.
It is, and you will have me here talking for years because my husband insists has to be the ambassador for tourism in Colombia. I love my country. I love all it is about. So I come from Medellin, which is the second largest city in Colombia. We are called the Eternal Spring, so the city of Eternal Spring. And the reason we call that is because our weather is incredible. We don't have seasons in Colombia because we're on the equator. So our weather is determined by the altitude. So we're on the Andes, but we also have coastal cities. So I am highway through the Andes, 1,600 meters above sea level, which means we have a perfect dry weather all year round that doesn't get too hot and doesn't get too cold. And I guess in Colombia, even if it gets cold, it never gets too cold. But one thing I would say is the biggest characteristic of my country is how colorful and warm it is. And I refer to the culture, to the people, to the food, to the relationships, to the personalities of the people, and everything is colorful and alive. There's music everywhere. It's a little bit messy and disorganized, but then actually when I moved to Australia, I felt that something had died here. Somebody who died? Why is everything so quiet, so
orderly?
Yeah, and for me, that's very interesting. Every time I go back home, is sensing that aliveness and that colorfulness that is hard to describe, but you can feel it in people, in places, wherever you go.
Absolutely, and that shines through with you, Alba, here. And I want to understand some of your Christmas traditions in Colombia, and especially with your grandparents and some of the food that you would make together.
Yes, so for us, Christmas is massive because we're Catholics. So obviously the whole leading to the Christmas day, we do the nativity for 9 days, and it's all about getting together with your family. So I grew up getting together with grandparents and cousins and uncles. It's an excuse to get together, to eat food, to drink some stuff, and to pray a little bit. So we organize everything about the gathering with the family and food. There is one specific memory that I have that is lovely. Is usually people have holiday houses up in the mountains where my mom and dad come from. It's a little bit cooler than the city. So we will spend Christmas Day as little kids. We celebrate Christmas Eve. And then on Christmas Day at midday, everybody will gather outside in the lawn. There will be like the coals and wood in the ground and a massive pot cooking something that is called sancocho, that is like a soup with chicken and meat and potatoes, corn, but it's the whole lead into it. It sinks 7 a.m, somebody starts cooking this soup that just simmers there until midday, and then everybody gets together, and it's kind of like a hangover cure because we have the party on Christmas. And just remembering seeing my grandma and my uncles, my aunties, all of us every year doing that together is so many good memories. Running around in the grass, playing with the cows or the horses, and it's just such a beautiful time.
Oh, wow. So it's like a hangover cure, you've
said. It is. Because we have the party on the 24th, so this soup is something now that I understand now as an adult. You drink more when you hungover. It really helps.
And it's made over the hot coals. So
yes.
Is it made outdoors or?
Yes,
it's made
outdoors. Like not obviously at home, my mom or somebody will cook it indoors, but it's originally meant to be cooked there. So it's kind of like the more traditional way of doing it.
Yeah, and would you have a whole lot of houses all making it outside in the hot coals?
Actually, that's interesting. So in my childhood, it was in the holiday house with my family, but that's how warm Colombian people are. People actually close the streets and they get together with neighbors, and in the middle of the street, they will do the soup, even to this day.
Is that right?
Yes.
That's wonderful. What a great tradition.
Yes.
And that's how Christmas Day would start.
Yes. And then obviously after that, then you start drinking again, and then the party continues and getting together with friends. And it's such a beautiful time to just spend so much more time with your family and your friends and share food and the love you have for each other. It's really cool.
That's very important. And so coming to Australia then was quite a change from all of that family and that aliveness and that colour. So tell me a little bit about that and particularly how you've kept some of those traditions alive here in Australia for yourself, because that's really important for your own soul.
Yes, absolutely. So it was really, really hard. So I came here with my ex-husband. He's Colombian, but it was just the two of us. And I remember when I arrived, I couldn't speak English to start with, when, communications is one of the most important things. Having friends, having family. So it was so hard. I found Australia way too organized, a little bit too dry for me. I didn't have friends and family. So obviously that was the worst shock of my life. I felt as if I had gone to another planet, and it really hit me hard. It just sent me the worst depression. And let's just remember that 17 years ago, we hardly have Skype. So it's not that we had the possibilities we have now with WhatsApp and Zoom and other things. My mom couldn't even work out how to work Skype. So it was way hard. I had to buy cards to do a phone call. So yeah, it was way harder. The time difference is 13 hours. So while I sleep, they're awake. So it was super tough. And then slowly, because my ex-husband is Colombian, we did bring a little bit of our traditions. Then I made some friends. And then fast forward into today, my husband actually is Australian, but my closest friends are Colombian. And we every Christmas celebrated the Colombian way. And my husband loves it. We now have a lot of opportunities to buy frozen stuff from Colombia, from Chinese places.
Oh,
so
really?
we can buy the things that we eat home frozen, or we can buy a little, because we don't have in Australia all the vegetables and fruits we have back home.
Oh, right. Like, look, tell me some of the vegetables and fruits you have in Colombia.
Oh, there's many fruits that I don't even know how to say them in English that you will know, but probably different fruits that you probably see in Bali. Then we have home. And then when it comes to vegetables, there's something called, it's like a green plantain, that you find something similar here, but it will never be the same. So it's a savory banana that you actually deep fry.
Right.
So we call it patacon, and it's incredible. You put all the stuff on top of it, like cheeses and meats and hams, and you could put seafood. Then arepas, which is our traditional kind of bread. We don't eat as much bread, but this is like a corn bread. But it's the texture, imagine a thicker tortilla.
Yes.
And that's made from corn. So then again, I can buy that, but we cannot buy that type of corn here. In Colombia, there's like 30 types of corns, and you don't have savory corn in Australia. You just have sweet corn.
Oh, now I didn't know there was that many different types
Yes,
of corn.
there's even blue, purple. It's incredible the amount of corns there are. So then we cannot buy the corn here, but the flour. Right. And it's imported from either Venezuela or Colombia. So then we buy the flour now at these Chinese shops. But as time passes, and I think there's more Colombians in Australia, more people are importing things that we can eat. So now it's a little bit easier. However, every time I go home, I'm like on a rampage. I'm going everywhere, eating the things I don't get to eat here.
Of course, and there's so much attachment between memory and taste. And so
Absolutely.
when you taste something of home, it takes you right back there.
Yes, actually, we went to our Colombian friend's house this Sunday, and she gave us salpicón, which is just pretty much like a fruit salad in small squares, but then it's got some liquid. And I literally said, it tastes like home.
Wonderful.
And we were all smiling like, ah.
And that would be one of the biggest compliments, I'll bet.
Ah, yes. And my friend was like, big smile. I'm like, thank you so much. It's just, yeah, it's beautiful. It just always makes me happy.
Of course it does. Now, tell me about Happy in Colombia.
Oh, we're so happy. Like, actually, Colombia has been in the top 3 happiest people in the world. And it's so interesting because knowing that we are a third world country where there's so much poverty and there's so much challenges that actually what you see in Australia, happy people everywhere. And that's one of the biggest things I love. Everybody's smiley, everybody's passionate, everybody's warm and open. And I think the biggest difference is people are not worrying so much about what people are thinking of them, but they're worrying more about how can they connect. Connection for us is so important, and having a good time and creating meaningful relationships. You get in a bus, in a taxi, in an Uber, you go to a shopping center, you walk out having had 10 great conversations.
Wonderful. That to me is wonderful.
Yes, it's beautiful. It's just spreading joy everywhere you go. Like, obviously, people have bad days and not everybody is like that. But as a general rule, the culture is very happy and warm and open.
Yeah. And that is what my warm table is all about. So
Yes.
I love hearing all of that. I could talk to you all day. I feel like we've only just dipped our toe in the water of all the amazing depth of what you have to offer in your business and as a woman and as someone who's transforming lives across the globe. So I'm really excited about that. Thank you for joining me today.
Oh, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
I really have loved reconnecting with you in person.
Yes.
And I look forward to maybe even having more conversations on this podcast.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Alba. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Alba's transition from engineer to personal brand coach may have seemed like a stretch at first, but she's used her engineering process and systems knowledge to create a business which has gone on to inspire so many people around the world. Alba has hundreds more proven tips and ideas to help us tap into the best version of ourselves and even cure a hangover the Colombian way. In fact, she's just launched her own podcast called Amplify with Alba Gomez. You can find out more on her website, albagomez.com.au. Let's keep the conversation flowing. Please subscribe to the My Warm Table podcast and share it with your friends and networks. Perhaps if they are new to podcasting, take a moment to show them how to download and subscribe so they don't miss an episode either. I'd also love you to join our community on Facebook. You'll find the group at My Warm Table Podcast. Your support is very much appreciated. Until next time, shine bright, be kind, and remember that great movements and positive change often begin with ideas shared around a warm table.